basketball reason why Duke or Carolina is going to win.
Basketball, Pete Nance was a net negative in the game in Durham.
Mm-hmm.
He has since found religion, found lemon Oreos, and found his three-point shot. He makes a huge difference.
I don't disagree, but I'm going to go on vibes, Joe.
Okay.
I'm going to go on vibes. All it was going to take was a couple of wins strung together for people to start thinking as though it was last year. Here we go again. Pete Nance is going to Brady Manic this bad boy. A lot of backslapping. Here we are. I'm sure the columns have already been written about how the season was turned around thanks to Oreos and all that other kind of stuff, right? And it's not that easy. We talked about this at the beginning of the year with Carolina. There was this attitude that you could just flip a switch. The common refrain back in November, December was, this team just wants to fast forward to March. Well, too bad. You can't. And I think the totality of the season and the slog of the season really wrecked their confidence. Can they gain it back over the last couple of games? Maybe, but that's in a vacuum, as though other teams haven't gotten better along the way, which gets us to Duke. This is not the same Duke team from last year. This is not the same essence of beating Duke. You're just beating a Duke team this go-round. You're not ending Coach K's happy party at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
There's also no pressure on Duke in this game.
None whatsoever. There's not going to be 200 some odd former players hanging out behind the bench freaking out like Jay Williams going, timeout, 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 that would get you to buckle under said pressure. I also say it's a different group altogether. Last year's team was a little bit of a front-runnery team. We saw it in Chapel Hill, where they got out to a big lead and they were rolling. But every time they found themselves in close games, every time the team that they were playing wouldn't go night-night after they decided, this game's over with 5 minutes to go, and they would fight back, they would absorb a punch, Duke had a hard time with it. Not this Duke team. This Duke team manages to roll with it. This Duke team manages to get all the way down to the end. And if it hadn't been for a couple of weird calls down the stretch, as Wes Durham likes to call it, a unicorn foul situation at Virginia, Kyle Filipowski getting punched in the throat in a celebration and no foul being called, we might be talking about Duke's season entirely different than we are right now. And you mentioned injuries too. Duke's gone through their bit of it. So if you just go based on vibes, I like Duke in this matchup. If Pete Nance is going to hit every three, well then yeah, Carolina's chances are going to be pretty good. But here's the problem. That's in the first half. You know where Carolina's big issues are? They're in the second half. That's the under-discussed portion of this win streak for the Tar Heels going into this game. Pete Nance has looked good in the first half. Caleb Love has looked good in the first half. They've allowed leads to dissipate. And if better teams can make them pay, they would have. Virginia wasn't that team. Obviously, this week.
Well, Florida State.
I mean,
they rallied.
They did rally.
But it wasn't
enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
But Leaky Black also had a game. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Leaky Black, Pete Nance, been saying it all year for Carolina. Their problem has been, like, their three best guys have to be their three best guys. That was the most encouraging thing, if I'm Carolina, about the Florida State game, Joe. Bacot had 1 point and didn't score until he had a free throw late when Florida State was intentionally fouling. So that proved they could win a game without Bacot, which I don't think they've done all year, quite frankly. Now, you want a basketball reason that Duke could win this game. We saw this in Durham, and that was Derek Lively, who has been coming on, can affect the basketball game without scoring. His defense, his ability to switch in a pick and roll is going to put him in the NBA in the first round next year, and he bothered Bacot in the first matchup. Like, he legitimately dominated that game in the post. And Carolina has had problems this year in winning games when Bacot isn't the bus driver. So there's your reason for hope. What will the whistle look like in this game?
That'll be interesting too. Remember last time?
What was there, 2 free throws for Carolina or 3?
They got 3. They got the line 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I would assume you'll see Ron Groover and maybe Ted Valentine. You'll see whoever Brian Kersey thinks are his 3 best officials. That's who works this game Saturday night in Chapel Hill. The 3 guys who can handle it the best. And, that's going to go a long way in determining this one too. Because if Lively does get in foul trouble, well, Duke becomes a different team. Fascinating matchup, though, between Filipowski and Nance. Fascinating. I mean, obviously, Filipowski got the best of it in the first go-round. You know, I'm going to be interested to see how those do. You know, you figure there's a stalemate there between Davis and Roach.
Yes.
You know, Roach has really come on, too. You mentioned Duke being a different team. Certainly from when NC State saw them at the beginning of January.
Mm-hmm.
They're healthier. We still don't know. You know, Dariq Whitehead was supposed to be the bus driver of this team.
It's not. It
just hasn't worked out that way because of injuries. We still haven't seen him kind of pop. We saw Lively have the game in Durham. I mean, Whitehead could pop.
It could be Whitehead.
You know, Proctor popped in this game in Durham. Because, again, what you have to realize when you're a 5-star recruit, okay, this is the game you care about. This is the game that when you were wooed in the courting phase, when you were wooed, this is the game that team took you to and said, hey, look at Jason Tatum.
You want to be part of this?
Look at Zion. This is the game you want to be in. This is the game you want to dominate. This is the game that's going to put you in the top 10 of the NBA draft. So don't be surprised if you see Whitehead pop a little bit in this one.